All right, everybody. Well, today is day 2 of walking with Jesus through Passion Week. So I want you to pause the video, go and read Mark 11:20 through chapter 12, verse 24, and then come back and we'll talk about it. All right, well, what's going on in chapter 12, in really the end of chapter 11 and throughout the course of chapter 12 is that Jesus is having some confrontations, you may have noticed, with some of the religious leaders. He's doing a lot of teaching in the temple during this last week of his life before his crucifixion, and he's dealing with some confrontation because of that. And so in verse 13 we find out that this group who's coming from the Pharisees and the Herodians are coming to Jesus, and we see from the very beginning that their intention is to trap him in his words. So what kind of trap were they trying to lay for him? Well, here's what they asked him. They said, "Teacher, we know that you are truthful and don't care what anyone thinks, nor do you show partiality, but teach the way of God truthfully." Which, before we even get to their question that they're going to ask in order to test Jesus, that's just an amazing thing to have said about you. Right? I'm so thankful that Jesus embodies all these things, that he's truthful, that he doesn't care what anyone thinks, but that he doesn't show partiality, that he teaches the way of God truthfully. And even before we get into the main point of what we're talking about tonight, we could just ask God that this would be said about us, that we would be truthful, that we wouldn't care what others think about us, that we wouldn't show partiality, that we wouldn't be kind and speak truth to people when it benefits us, but don't do it when it doesn't benefit. We don't show partiality, but we teach the way of God truthfully. We could do well to have that said about us, and we should pray for that to be the case. But then here's the question that they ask him: is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay or shouldn't we? So the reason that this is a trap is because if Jesus says yes to this question, if he says yes, you should pay to Caesar, then these people, these Pharisees and these Herodians, had him in a tough spot, because they knew that if he was stating that he was loyal to Rome, then people in Jerusalem, these Jews that Jesus was surrounded by, were going to be upset with him and may even seek to put him to death. But if he says, no, you shouldn't pay to Caesar, then they've got a cause to bring him before the Roman authorities, right? So they're looking for reasons to have him killed, looking for ways to trap him in his words. But I love Jesus' response to this. He's so wise. It says that he sees and knows their hypocrisy. He knows that they're not coming to him with right motives, right? And so he says something to them that it gets even below the surface of what they're asking. Here's what he asks. He says, "Why are you testing me? Bring me a denarius. Bring me a coin to look at." And so when they do, he asks them this question: whose image is on the coin? They respond to him and they say, Caesar's image is on the coin. Okay, and so Jesus tells them, now this is important. Let's go a little bit deeper and understand what Jesus is saying here. He says, whose inscription is on the coin? Whose image is on the coin? And they answer him, Caesar's image is on the coin. He says to them, well, if Caesar's image is on the coin, then give to Caesar the things that belong to him. But then he adds this weird statement at the end of it, and give to God the things that are God's. Right? So what does that have to do with what we were just talking about? Well, he's saying something so important here in this confrontation with the Pharisees. He's telling them that these coins that they're talking about have the image of Caesar on them, so they need to surrender those things to Caesar. They need to give to Caesar what belongs to him. But in saying give to God the things that are God's, he's saying that there's something that actually bears the image of God. Right? Give to Caesar the things that belong to Caesar, but give to God the things that bear God's image. What is that? It's us, right? It's these people that he's talking to. It's these Pharisees, it's the Jews, it's all these people that he comes in contact with. We bear the image of God, and because of that, what that means for us is that he's worthy of our lives. Just like Jesus tells these people to give these coins to Caesar that bear his image, we're called to give our lives to God since we bear his image. And it concludes by saying that they were utterly amazed at him. So this was not the point that they knew they were going to be able to trap Jesus. They thought they may be able to, but they weren't. But they're going to continue to come back to him until ultimately we find out that one of his own disciples is going to betray him into their hands because they see him as such a threat to the status quo. They see him as such a threat to business as usual for them. So here's the question for us as we continue our journey through Passion Week. Have we completely surrendered our lives to the one whose image we bear? Something for you to think about as you continue throughout this week. We'll see you tomorrow.